Live from Run Your Mouth World Headquarters.
First up, outrage over the Kamala Harris Time magazine cover that portrays her as the wrong kind of Indian, with leading Democrats outraged over the cultural appropriation and demanding an apology to Elizabeth Warren. Next up, Florida Rep. Anna Paulina throws down the gauntlet for having the nicest ass in Congress. Next, the Taliban parade that has forward-looking dictators hoping the U.S. invades their country. And lastly, we cover the growing fear amongst scientists of monkeypox going airborne and making the jump from men's assholes, with scientists claiming that avoiding gay sex might not be enough to avoid the disease. The latest from The Who is that until we know more, we should all go back inside, wear masks, and hold in our shits. When pressed on how long we should hold in our turds for, or if there might be unintended consequences of not releasing fecal matter, The Who showed fake footage of hospitals filled to the brim with gays covered in boils, which was later discovered to be CGI'd green glitter from a German nightclub.
It's your daily dose of misinformation, pulled from a lightly hemorrhoided asshole. It's today's Run Your Mouth!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Run Your Mouth podcast. Actually home this weekend, so we're going to make some studio improvements. I don't know why I'm looking so ghostly. I'm not this ghostly. Sure, I'm fairly white, but I've been out. I've been doing porches. I've gotten a little bit of color in my skin. Firstly, everybody, thank you everyone that came out for the Stanford show. It was cool actually playing in Stamford, Connecticut. Grew up in Stamford, Connecticut. Never got to play the New York Comedy Club here in town, and it was a good time. It was this was the funniest thing to me, was I haven't had my dad come out and see me do comedy in probably a decade. I very rarely have out friends and relatives. Yeah, you already got enough stress with the show, and it's a weird profession that no matter how long you've done it, you're still just in like, shit, I gotta go up. Why did I agree to this? Why am I doing this? And then you remember, oh, I actually do this for a living. I know how to do it. It doesn't matter. You're always all fidgety. You guys see the way I move around. Anyways, at the end of the show, I met my dad at his seat, and thank you to the random fans that walked up to me in front of my dad and said, "You changed my life, man. You saved me. You're the greatest thing that ever happened to me." And then it was like an odd night. There were a couple, I guess because we were close to New York, there's some agents that wanted to get into the green room. You made me look cool. If you guys could start doing that when I'm trying to hit on women, that'd be helpful. If you just walk up and be like, "Thank you so much for what you did for my grandmother. The donation that you gave to the child at hospital and the fact that you were willing to donate your time." Man, when I saw that picture of you in your sheaths, I didn't even realize that. I mean, I've seen a sheath bulge, but the sheath bulge that you had. Anyways, good luck with this, lady. So anyways, thanks for those random fans out there. Make me look good in front of the old man. And other than that, Porch Tour, it's the last one that's on the books. It's next weekend at Max's. I've got BK Chris confirmed, got Alex Tomaselli coming out. I got the Shedcast boys doing a concert. We will do a live podcast, and I will be drinking out at Max's bar. So I recommend making the journey. That's the OG Porch. It's still going strong. This might be the last time at Max's. We said it last year, but we're still working on the easement for once he sells the property. And other than that, I got no other random things to talk about. I've been home all week. I've been grinding through the news, and I've got a lot of stuff, so why don't we get into it, and then I'll start taking some comments. First topic of today's show is I'm calling bullshit on this story. Here I am, everybody. If you didn't realize that I was out in the Ukraine in front of the yacht that took out the Nordstream pipeline when a bunch of people in the army got together, got super hammered, stole some rich guy's yacht, had all the necessary training and equipment, and took out a pipeline even though the CIA asked them not to. The CIA both didn't know about the event, but then also knew enough about it to tell them, hey guys, this isn't a good idea, and we don't want you guys to go ahead and do it. Tell me you haven't watched every Mission Impossible movie, every movie about super secret spy missions. There was that new Guy Ritchie movie. It's always, listen, if you sign up for this mission, it's super secret, and if things go wrong, we're going to pretend like we don't even know who you are. That wasn't even an American citizen. We don't know where he got all the resources, the money, or any of the identifications to go and do this mission. We had nothing to do with it. Hey, this is right out of and listen, other people might read. I just figure out how things fit into the movies I watched as a kid. And if I'm watching this storyline, I'm calling bullshit on that the CIA both knew and didn't know about it and asked them not to do it. And now they're really upset that they did it as well. I mean, sure, Joe Biden was up there giving speeches and saying, I know how to take out pipelines. There's a bunch of things I don't know how to do. I'm not that good at teleprompters, but pipelines, I'll blow them up all day. But, nope, we asked them not to. Don't blame us, Mr. Putin. All right, here's just wild, out my ass, bending over, pulling information out from there. Really got no idea what I'm talking about. I'm calling bullshit on this Nordstream story, and I'm seeing that maybe we're coming to the end of this Ukraine-Russia whole shenanigans thing. And the reason why Ukraine has pushed into Russia and started taking over some territories is that as we go into election season and the Democrats have to sell us on this war, right? They've been going on this war for a whole long time, and they got to sell it on us. They can go, look, the thing's turned around. Now we're on the offensive. For 3 years, we were on the defensive, and now we're actually on the offensive. So maybe this is just like a little push to sell us through the election season, or maybe they're trying to grab some things that they can do a better territory swap as they call it quits on the war. And now that they're calling it quits on the war, the CIA and the American government and the Germans all have to stand around and go, we didn't know about that pipeline. It was those 4 random people, and we're just upset as you guys are. Remember when we said that we were going to take that thing out and Putin can't possibly have it because if Putin's got the direct relationship with the Germans, then it's World War III and they're going to be even stronger than they've ever been. So remember the exact thing that we wanted to happen happened? Well, we're really mad at the people that did the exact thing that we wanted to happen. And that's why we need to make sure that people in Europe don't get hammered and go out on super secret missions that we told them not to do. We can't have any more of that going on. All right. And wait, one last point on this is that they're almost now looking at this and going, look, the pipeline's gone because a bunch of drunks took it out. And don't look at us, it wasn't our fault. But isn't this just more proof of why we shouldn't be having these dumb wars? If we're standing around and we actually wanted this pipeline the whole time, and we started this little war, and we're got all the patriots in Ukraine so amped up for this war that they decided against all orders, with no military intelligence, with no training, with no direction, our ragtag team of drunks are just going to get onto this mysterious yacht and pull off this advanced mission that no one's going to know about and then claim after it happened, hey, we're real mad at you for. But doesn't that just play to the fact that these things can escalate pretty quickly? And when other people have nuclear missiles, maybe you don't want to stand around and just be poking at each other. You both stand there and you poke at each other. You go, don't worry, this isn't going to turn into a real fight. All right. And now I've already said this before, that all of war seems like it's just a coordinated war theater. The elites, they just want to pretend like they're fighting with each other while they cash their paychecks. I talked about it in Iran making phone calls to Israel, and they're like, all right, listen, you're making us look bad over here. You're really bitching us out in front of our own people, and we're doing like a whole powerful dictator thing. So what can we do to make it look like we strike back at you? And they're like, the Iron Dome can handle this volume of missiles and these locations. They're like, all right, we're going to go ahead and do that. All right. I cannot even believe that this was printed. If up until now you've been spacing out on all the absolute shenanigans that I've been pulling out of my ass, reading it, and then verbalizing out of my mouth, start listening right now. If you're sitting in your kitchen, you've been cooking up some eggs, maybe you're making yourself a steak, and you've been like half listening to the show, maybe you're driving, maybe you're in your office, you're trying to pretend like you're reading a spreadsheet. If you've been half listening, now's the time to be like 75, 80% listening. This one's important. From the Wall Street Journal. I can't believe that this is printed. You're going to sit there and your jaw's going to drop and you're going to go, how is this reality? You ready for this? In a subsequent broadcast interview, he said that the sabotage had 2 positive effects for Ukraine. It helped loosen Russia's grip on the European countries supporting Kiev, and it left Moscow with only one main avenue for channeling gas to Europe. Pipelines traversing Ukraine. Despite the war, Ukraine collects lucrative transit fees for Russian oil and gas estimated to be worth hundreds of millions of dollars a year. You guys are enemy countries. You're currently in a war. Thousands of young people are dying. We're spending billions of dollars on this war, and you guys can get along well enough to continue to trade oil amongst each other, you guys can have a handshake agreement. Hey, listen, my billionaires over here still need to do business with your billionaires over there. So we're going to have a fight, and all these poor people are going to have to go out there, and some are going to die on my behalf, some are going to die on your behalf, and you're going to spend a bunch of American dollars to get it done. But while this whole war theater thing's going on, let's not let that get in the way of our lucrative oil business. I mean, we can have a fight, but still enjoy our oil revenues at the same time. How is that possible? Can someone explain this one to me? You're telling me through this entire war, while Russia's the most horrible thing and we have to stop them, and we've been supporting the Ukrainians fighting them, they've managed to figure out how they could continue to broker oil through the country. Pretty incredible, right? All right, let's take a couple of comments. John Popick, everyone loves a game of nuclear chicken, or perhaps there's no nuclear warheads on the table. It's all theater while they continue to sell oil to each other. Mike Lamont, holy shit, I finally caught one of these lives. I figured Robbie was some kind of mythical creature in a realm I couldn't access. Well, welcome, you found it. Eric John, pizza artist. I'm in New Hampshire for the week, and I've already seen 7 guys that look like Clint Russell. It's an epidemic of bald, goatee dudes in black t-shirts. Maybe they're all hardcore fans, and they're rocking the look. Gistankin. Money has been made. All right. Next topic, but before we do, let's shout out YoKratom.com, home of the $60 kilo, long-term sponsor of the show, and only place on the entire internet that you can get an entire kilo of Kratom for just $60. All right, let's take a look at our next story, and it's actually Joe Biden talking about the Ukraine war. Let's give this one a quick listen. It's shocking that he's still alive, or they managed to speed up the clones. You know, like they ran out of clones. They kept killing them off after speeches, and then they were able to speed up the process. So, because they messed up a batch. You guys all watched the debate, and you saw what happened there, and you saw that clone wasn't working, so they had to get rid of a whole batch of them. They had to pretend like he had a stroke. They had to recall him for a couple weeks, but now they got a new batch of them. Guy's walking, the guy's talking. Let's hear what he had to say about Ukraine.
Staff tells me that the creator economy is valued at $250 billion. I'd like to talk to you about borrowing some money from you all.
Crowd's laughing. The Democrats have figured out how to import good laughers so that these guys can pause, take their time, come off a little bit smoother. I'd like to do shows for these Democratic rallies. They're laughing at all Kamala Harris's lines. They're laughing at this from Biden. Firstly, you sent all the money over there. You're joking about trying to borrow it back. Then why are you going for a loan? Just take it. Just tell us what your cut was. That seems like almost like a Freudian slip type moment. Just throwing out the little joke in there of, hey, how can I profit off this thing? Apparently it's worth $250 billion. Now, what's a little bit crazy to me about the Ukraine economy being valued at $250 billion is that I think in our war efforts, we've already spent like $175 billion over there. I looked up the number. I have it on my Twitter from the Council of Foreign Relations. But it's a little bit crazy the amount of money we've spent on an economy that's only worth $250. Not that we should be making economic decisions of, hey, a bunch of people can die for profits. That's not what I'm about. But I'm just saying, he's like saying is, oh my God, look at this. Their economy's worth $250. We've spent $175 billion on death over there already. While you guys continue to trade oil amongst yourselves and figure out how you can funnel some money back to yourself afterwards. All right. Now, this is exciting. Kamala Harris, she's not taking TV interviews. She knows that she can't do that. She's just getting out there, reading teleprompters while saying that that's her talking directly to the American people. And now we live in a new world with new media and everything's behind the scenes access. Everyone's got to do a podcast. Everyone's got to give you the inside scoop. They don't care about your talents. They want to see who you are as a person. They want to see how relatable you are. And let me tell you, when you're a lizard person, that is not a winning game. If you want to put these people up to sit down and have fake scripted conversations and pretend like they're human beings, you're going to end up with Chuck Schumer grilling a raw burger because he eats worms type moment. You're going to expose yourself for not being people. Firstly, why not have an actual conversation about policy? I'd rather see that you're actually an expert or really good at getting things done than you can sit down and you can have a conversation with someone about classic rock or otherwise. That doesn't personally win me over. But here they are. They're realizing they've got to figure out new media. We have to figure out how we can actually show that these are normal human beings. And so they're sitting down and they're just going to have conversation. And this is a win. I hope they do the entire thing as a reality TV show where they vlog them going around the country, taking these fake phony phone calls, asking each other scripted questions, and just trying to come off like human beings without Kamala Harris laughing like the Joker. I love this. Let's see the behind-the-scenes coverage of how unlikable she truly is. And so here, let's give this a watch. They're having a short conversation about food. I'll play it completely, and then I'll comment. Let me know if we got sound.
Like I have white guy tacos and
what is
like
that?
black,
Like mayonnaise and tuna? What are you doing?
pretty much ground beef and cheese.
That's
and,
okay. Do you put any flavor in it?
No.
Oh.
Here's the deal. No, they said to be careful and let her know this, that black pepper is the
All right, I'm going to stop there. I know I said I'd play it completely through. Are you as a Democrat allowed to say, hey, I eat a white guy taco? Are you allowed to do that? Isn't that racist? Are you trying to say that there's a white group of people that have different taste buds than different groups of people? Are you trying to say that you can actually see color? Are you trying to say that this is the right or wrong way to be eating food? Are you trying to say that other people, for some reason, don't like the version of food that you're eating? I mean, I think he's just out there trying to go, I'll play the hokey white guy character, and this just a plain vanilla old man locking people in their homes because of a fake virus that the government wants everyone to be in their homes for? But are you, I mean, from all the shit that we've heard about the racial diversity and the not go, like, is this something that you're even allowed to say? But let's continue.
the top of the spice level in Minnesota, you know.
I'm the first vice president, I believe, who has ever grown chili peppers.
I just want to say, sounds kind of Indian of you. I mean, at least Hillary Clinton she was trying to relate to certain communities, had hot sauce in her purse. But I'm just saying, as a black lady, sounds like a pretty Indian move.
Trying to expand
We'll figure
my food knowledge.
You know, we've got some cantaloupes. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Coconut trees, cantaloupes. Good luck with this show. This show might break the internet. Vice President Kamala Harris and Tim Walz this Thursday. Instead of a debate, instead of getting out there explaining our economic policy, we're going to sit down, we're going to talk about music and food, and we're going to pretend like we're normal people. All right, and now remember when I said that Kamala Harris basically is just the usual suspects, where she just takes the words that you said and then she just starts talking around those words and tries to put together information that she doesn't have or know. Remember, you can go back to previous episodes where I just said this lady operates like the usual suspects. You say something Middle East, oh, it's the middle, but it's also the East. And when you think about the East, and then she just does her, stupid affiliations until she makes herself laugh because she realizes how dumb she is. And she can't believe that anyone's actually listening to her on the topic. Well, here's proof of the concept. They asked her a question about music, and just watch this. Watch this.
I talk about it being halftime in
I
America.
got to go to
We're a touchdown
2:35.
down.
That's my
And I kind
timestamp.
of the soundtrack of my life of Detroit's own Bob Seger. But what's really great about this is I have a 79 International as my car. It's got an 8-track player in it. I have the very 8-track to this day.
You're kidding me.
No, but how about you?
I grew up, so all these albums here, Aretha, my mother had
Probably never listened to her in her whole life. I used to listen to, Aretha. That's a thing that black people might say that they listen to. Let's go with that.
I talk about it being halftime in America.
Rewinding.
We're
All
a
right,
touchdown
enough of
down.
that. Let's
And I
move
kinda
on
like the
to
idea
our
being a
next
little bit
topic of
behind that.
substance.
Well, I'm looking.
As we cover the Kamala Harris campaign, and remember, this lady's filling stadiums. This is the most exciting candidate we've ever seen. By the way, I got some new jokes on Kamala Harris. So I'm going to start putting out more jokes from. Follow the Robbie the Fire channel on YouTube. I know a lot of you guys watch on the other Tube channel, or you follow the show on Twitter or elsewhere. But I'm going to start, I tape a lot of sets. I never put things out. I'm not quite sure when I'm going to be able to put out a half hour. You keep thinking, I don't want anyone to see these jokes because then if they already heard them, they're not going to laugh when they're live. And now I just keep crafting good topical jokes, and then you turn around and the news changes and your joke's not good anymore. So I think as things work, I'm just gonna fucking throw them out there, and if there's an opportunity to actually film it as a more cohesive thing, or you guys see them live, hopefully you were drunk when you passively, you're usually taking a shit, it pops up as a 60-second thing on Instagram. Do you really remember it and then not laugh at the live show? But anyway, I also have some bits from like years ago I just stopped doing, and I always kind of liked them. And I know there's like that old adage of don't put out your practice or whatever, but I'm going the other way. So Robbie the Fire, go follow that channel, because I'm going to start putting some things out. That was a tangent. Oh yeah, because I was got a new joke that I was excited about last night. And then sometimes they never work again. And then you should have just edited it and realized, it was just lucky on the first try, but fuck that. I'll just put it out. Harris campaign Google Ads rewrites news headlines. So they're not just pretending like the entire world wants to come to her rallies. That's not the only thing they're doing. They're pulling, and this is a pretty mischievous trick, where they put up fake headlines from news stories, like from real news publications, as if they wrote these articles. So if you look up a specific topic, I believe this is the way it works. If you look up a specific topic, you'll get everyone going, well, Kamala did, the New York Times, Kamala did the greatest thing ever on this particular topic. Kamala Harris helped people get rid of the kids they didn't want, and then pregnant women, old women who couldn't get pregnant miraculously started having the children, and so there wasn't death or souls. That was a New York Times article. If you were trying to look up abortion, that was the actual headline from a New York Times article, or as sponsored, or, you try and go, hey, is Kamala responsible for the inflation? And then the fake article will pop up. According to Reuters, Kamala Harris is the best thing that ever happened for prices coming down, and her price controls will make sure that you have more food for less. And that's the headline from a Reuters article. And you don't have to click on anything. You don't have to look up the article, but you'll be able to see. This is according to Axios. For the people that just listen to the show only and you can't see this article right in front of you, you can look it up. Axios, Harris campaign, Google Ads, rewrite news headlines. So the examples that they have here is AP, inflation is down. Who is Kamala Harris? Vice President Kamala Harris. Harris picks Tim Walz. 2000, I don't know what that says. All right, the Harris campaign has been editing news headlines descriptions with Google search ads that make it appear as if The Guardian, Reuters, CBS News, and other major publishers are on her side, Axios has found. Why it matters. It's a common practice in the commercial advertising world that doesn't violate Google's policies, but the ads mimic real news results from search closely enough that they have news outlets caught off guard. According to Google Ads Transparency Center, the Trump campaign isn't running these types of ads. You guys have seen this for other things. Will be like, according to Reuters, this pill will make your penis touch your forehead. And then you click on it. It was an advertisement. All right. Next news story, New York City migrant crisis costs will crack eye-popping $5 billion on shelters, security, and food. Amount could double by 2025. This is according to the New York Post, breaking down all the money that New York City has spent on illegal migrants. And when the city, in the course of, 2 or 3 years, has already spent $5 billion caring for the illegal immigrants that have come in, the $20 billion that I believe it was estimated to build that border wall is starting to sound pretty cheap, starting to sound like a pretty good idea. And what's the plan for all the people that are currently in New York City? What is the estimated cost on those ongoing social services? What's the ongoing cost of their children in school? How is the city, what other resources is the city going to lose on behalf of continuing to shell this out for these individuals? And all of a sudden, Donald Trump's idea for $20 billion on a wall kind of starting to sound like a good investment. Hunter Biden sought State Department help for Ukrainian company. This is from the New York Times. No one's been more interested in the Biden corruption. Nobody has been more interested in the wheelings and dealings of the Biden administration in Ukraine, the country that we're now spending $175 billion on a war on. Nobody's been more interested in the relationship that the Biden family, the big guy, might have with foreign countries and what his relationships might be where they're profiting off his family name. We all know the New York Times has been front and center on trying to cover this topic. And now that Joe Biden is finally irrelevant, they're able to get little tiny details to us that are mostly irrelevant. So the news story is essentially Hunter Biden. He's representing Burisma. He's trying to get some contract out in Italy. So he's calling up the foreign diplomats of the U.S. out in Italy. They don't take the meetings. They never wanted the meetings. They don't feel comfortable about their bullshit. It's as much bullshit as there's this boat talk having nothing to do with the CIA. And why is this information coming out now? Once Joe Biden's irrelevant, we get a little smidgen of thing so that they can pretend like our system works perfectly. If there's corruption, of course we'll unfold it 4 years after it's no longer relevant. And yeah, of course the New York Times would report on it. Firstly, the Republicans have done a terrible job of exposing if there's actual hardcore Republican corruption. You've had that guy, I think his name's Cormer, who sounds like a slow-talking cattle auction guy. Like the way they do the Special Olympics, if they had some sort of a special competition for cattle auctioneers in the South, I don't know how that guy made a fortune as a lawyer. We should all, there's some people in Congress where we should look up what all of them have done and then go do it, because we all have the wrong careers if those people made money doing that. And so whatever kind of ambulance chasing law that guy was doing, we should all get on board with it, because that's how we could all be wealthy and not listening to Run Your Mouth in the middle of the afternoons. Anyways, they never did a great job of showcasing any real corruption. And then finally, now that Joe Biden's irrelevant, we get this little teeny tiny article that's a part of the ongoing court case coming up with a little bit of a leak of, look, he was trying to at least reach out to government agencies and use his name in order to secure contracts, but it was just this one incident that we know of so far and nothing actually happened. Bullshit. You know what I think's going to happen here? This is just my guess. This is as wild and speculative as what I was saying at the top of the show with these boats and the CIA, and that maybe it's a final push to either sell us on more war with the conquering of territories, or this article's coming out because they're finally going to start walking things back. But I'm just guessing that we see a couple more gnarly stories about Hunter, and then, you know, it just kind of at the time of the election, Joe finally turns around, he gives them the pardon, and that's the end of that thing. I'm just willing to bet that we don't unearth any real corruption that links Joe in any way to the activities, or they go after him for any kind of illegal activity. I don't think you're going to see what we saw with the Donald Trump court cases, even though all of this talk was from before he was president. So there's no reason why there would be any sort of presidential immunity for whatever the Bidens were up to. But now that Joe Biden's no longer relevant, the New York Times, the people that have cared about this the whole time, can give you a tiny little slice of the not that interesting pie. Moving forward, Kennedy sought a meeting with Harris to discuss a cabinet post. It looks to me like Kennedy's just trying to get out of this thing. He's like, can I just get something for my efforts? I think Davey Smith probably called it that he had a lot of momentum, but abandoned who his base was, which were the free thinkers, the independents, who probably are not supporting what's going on in Israel. And he probably lost steam as being a vocal advocate for what was going on currently in that country as, they kind of wreck Gaza into oblivion. But it seems like as his campaign efforts have dwindled, which is a shame. He could have done a good job of sharing some good messages. I think he even educated Trump maybe to the importance of Bitcoin. I think on the topic of medical freedom, there was a lot of things that he could have, there were some really great talking points that he had that you would have hoped he could have educated the American public on. And if he could have gone into a debate, I don't think that Trump or Kamala Harris have nearly the intellect or handle on these things as he did. And so this is a missed opportunity. But at least as reported by the New York Times, it seems like he's trying to get out of the race. All right, before we move on to the next topic, which is a breakdown of some of Kamala Harris's newest economic policies, let's thank our other sponsor of today's episode, sheathunderwear.com, the most comfortable underwear to ever grace the balls of man. It's still summer season. It's still hot and spicy out there. And if you don't want to have sweaty swamp ass and little beads of sweat coming off the back of your nuts, chafing between your legs, none of these are things that you want to live your life with, and you don't have to. There's an easy solution to these problems. I've already told you about it, and frankly, if you haven't stepped up your game, you should be ashamed of yourself. Sheathunderwear.com, promo code RYM for 20% off the greatest underwear that's ever graced the balls of man. All right, let's take a couple of comments, and then we can get into this econ talk. Valiant Thor. Voting for Kamala is like taking a massive dump in your pants, then slipping on a fresh pair of sunglasses and confidently claiming everything's under control. Well, it's technically out of your guts, so it's under control unless you think that there's more. You know, if you got it all out, I mean, that's technically a controlled fire at that point. Now, you might not have it completely contained and that you stand up and it starts going all over the place, or maybe it was particularly wet. I get your point. I talked myself back into you being right. Eric Shaver. Migrants cost the government less money than it awards blacks, and they commit substantially less crime. I don't know if that's pro-migrant or anti-black. Daniel Shaw. Are sheath underwear tuck friendly? Where are you trying to tuck it? If you got like a long duck and you're trying to like tuck it into your asshole, it might still help. I don't know why you'd want to do that. Are you saying you're an upwards tucker? You're a sideways tucker? You don't want to use the sheath hole? You're going to have to be a little bit more specific on your question. Dildo won't say the last name. How is she going to stop corporate greed when she's a power-hungry puppet? And last one, Runaway Slav. What about, I'm not reading that. Okay. Eric Shaver coming through with neither, just facts. Well, even if it's just facts, I don't think it helps to add more benefits. At least, like, if you were just, let's say you said we were even doing slave reparations, and I don't know what that number looked like, but at least you could wrap your head around that there was a capped fixed cost of your increased spending. Whereas if you're just letting anybody over the border and we're going to be responsible for all of their medical care or other benefits, you kind of have a runaway train of how much is this going to cost us, and is it endlessly going to cost us that? And you might even have people in the country that agree with social benefits for, you know, native minority communities, such as the black community, that don't want people just pouring over the border. So at what point do people actually get what they were looking for represented? So even if you're just stating your facts, I don't know why it changes the point that New York City, having already spent $5 billion, and that's just one city, it doesn't even account for other costs nationwide, that it would have been a good idea to build a wall, which is $20 billion. And so at least you could kind of cap your expenses within the category. Valiant Thor. If you sneak into Disneyland, should they let you stay if you get caught? And once you've been caught, should they give you meal money and let you ride the things for free? I just think Mickey Mouse should give you a hand job. That's what I think. I think they should go, wow, you know, we got good security here. We didn't think you'd be able to get through this, and you can't stay because you didn't pay your bill. But as to just do our best, this mitt is fresh. It feels nice. It's got a good fabric, and Mickey's going to jerk you off. If you prefer Minnie, it can be Minnie, but we actually have a dude in that one. So you might prefer the Mickey one, which is actually a lady, and it's a cartoon character anyways. And you can close your eyes because it's not like it's basically, they're wearing a mitt. They're wearing a mitt at that point. So do you really even care? But you're not allowed to turn down the hand job either, and they won't let you leave until you come. I don't know why that was helpful. Harris to propose federal ban on corporate price gouging in food and groceries, which great. So I guess you want price controls on food. That's how we're going to limit what people are spending in the market, is by rationing and having less food, or you forcing them to make the quality of the food worse in order to hit the profit margins that they were looking for. A great plan, Kamala Harris. You must have quite the economic team where you're like, these costs are too high. I know what we'll do. We'll limit the increases. We'll keep putting money into the system so that if we can cap the cost of what the thing is to make sure that you can afford it. And then we can also hand the people money so that they got the money for it, and then they have more money and the thing is capped. That will work, right? And then I guess there's no one there to be like, well, aren't they going to run out of it? Or if you can't charge the more and the money's not worth as much, then it's rationing. I think I'm just describing rationing. Does no one ever talk about that? Does it never come up of, hey, why are markets gonna, if everything's costing the market more, and so they got to push up the cost so that they can cover what they need so that they want to still do the thing, why are they still going to do it if they can't charge more as things cost them more? Well, we won't have it cost more for them. Well, then what are those producers going to do? Well, we'll give them more money so that they can cover their things. Well, isn't that going to cause more prices to go up because there's more money in the system? Well, that's okay because I don't know. I don't know how they re-explain that one, but they've sat around. They've got a plan. They understand that things have gotten more expensive, and so don't worry. They're gonna ban your grocery store from raising the prices anymore, but you'll still be able to get everything you need there at the same quality. Harris to propose up to $25,000 in down payment support for first-time home buyers, which sounds really nice. You're standing around and you can't afford a home, and the government goes, listen, you're doing the right things. You're trying to save up. Let's bump you ahead. Let's help you out. Things don't look like you can afford the house, so you know what? If you're on the margin, if you're already wealthy enough that you think you might be able to afford putting down a down payment on a home, you're getting close to it, and $25,000, so we're not helping the poorest of people. You're already helping people that are probably, I don't know, your 27-year-old that's working a pretty decent middle-class job. But, all right, anyways, you have enough money that $25,000 is going to make a difference for you being able to get a home. The government's now coming around, and they say that they're going to give it to you, and that sounds pretty good. That sounds nice. $25,000 of free money, and I'm here to tell you, free money is the devil. You think it's going to help. It's like eating cake that doesn't taste good. You get all the calories and none of the benefit. It looks pretty. You look like you're going to like it. And then you just keep eating more and more of it because you're like, the flavor's going to hit. The flavor's going to hit at some point. I know what cake's supposed to taste like. It's like someone put this big, delicious looking cake in front of you and it's flavorless. And you're like, I'm going to get to the flavor. This can't be possible. This can't be possible. And then your stomach starts hurting more. You're getting fuller and fuller with the empty calories. You're like, at some point, I'm going to hit flavor. It's the devil. They're pretending like they're helping you. You know what's going to happen if they handed everyone $25,000 that you could specifically go buy for a house? Houses will be $25,000 more. That's it. They're just trying to trap you into debt. Here's what would happen. As these baby boomers die off, as the economy downturns, as all this commercial real estate's got to get converted into something, as technology gets better and maybe they figure out whatever those boxable houses that I see ads for, as all of us leave cities because we can work remotely, and so we continue to figure out what areas might be cheaper to live in. As all of these things that might have made owning a home cheaper and more affordable to you started coming into the market, the government comes around and goes, you know what? We've got to figure out how to reboost this bubble and keep you in debt. It's what they did to you with school. They pretended like, hey, if you get this education, you're going to be able to make more money. And too bad that the school costs so much money. So why don't we give you this loan? And then the schools turned around and went, oh, look, the government's giving loans to all these kids. We can just start charging more for the product. The product didn't become any cheaper. You just saddled kids with more debt. And that's what you're going to do with the housing market as well. As prices might start to actually come down, as you have an economic downturn, or as interest rates are going up, or, you know, maybe people stand around and they go, hey, there's so much demand for housing. Why don't we build more houses? Instead of doing any of that, you're just going to hand money to people so that they can buy a more expensive house, have more debt, and be more imprisoned by the system, and basically just continue to help out the people that have currently been in the home assets to make sure that you continue to drive up the price. Let me tell you, this will not be, or sometimes what you have, it's a lottery system where let's just say like, I don't know, a handful of people across the country get a free check for $25,000. They're able to get a house, and then, basically they turn around and they go, we helped 250 people in minority communities get a house, and everyone applauds, and then you realize, yeah, but we're a country of $350 million, so you handed a lottery ticket to 250 people so you can pretend like you actually did something that helps. You didn't help anybody. You can walk around the street, give $1 million to 10 random individuals, have the entire country fall off a cliff and go, but we found 10 people and we made the million. It doesn't do anything. You need policies that would benefit everybody or progress the system, lead to economic growth. It's one of two things. You're either going to continue to fuel a credit asset bubble and it will blow up in the future, and you'll just imprison people with more debt as you drive up the cost of these goods, or you're actually not going to have a robust policy that just favors a couple random individuals, and it doesn't actually do anything other than it helps a couple random schmucks, and then you get to claim like you did something. All right, let's continue on this. So this I thought was interesting. This was from the Wall Street Journal and talking about bubbles in the market, credit asset bubbles, government making funds available to certain sectors, people thinking that they're wealthier than they are. Millennials experience dramatic financial turnaround. Okay. This is from the Wall Street Journal, and I wanted to read these particular paragraphs. I'm going to go full screen so I can actually get closer, and then I can read it, and then I don't sound like a complete dumbass. Here we go. Making the journey. Anna Hernandez Kent, that's an unfortunate last name for a lady, a senior researcher at the St. Louis Fed and a millennial herself, spent years examining whether her cohort was a lost generation. This is all about how millennials are actually financially doing well at the moment. They're no longer lost, she said, they're found. In the first quarter of 2024, the collective wealth of millennials and older Gen Z stood at $14.2 trillion, up from $4.5 trillion 4 years earlier. It's quite the wealth expansion in a couple of years, according to the Federal Reserve. The biggest driver of that increase was real estate. Millennials' housing wealth grew $2.5 trillion after accounting for the additional mortgage debt they took on. A colossal jump in home prices benefited owners, whether they scraped together a down payment in the early 2010s or squeaked in just before the recent leap in prices and rates. Kind of sounds like a bubble to me. Let's continue. Windfall combined with lucrative job switch made it easier for his wife, Megan Holmes, to quit her job. She now looks after their 2 children full-time. How they spend. Brent Royer got a 40% raise when he switched jobs in 2021, giving him the funds to invest more in his passion, skydiving. The 36-year-old accountant makes weekly trips to a wind tunnel near his home in San Diego. That's not even real skydiving. What a loser. Royer estimates he spent about $40,000. Wow, this guy's a huge fucking loser. On skydiving in 2023, including parachutes, custom-made jumpsuits, and lift tickets, all to not actually go skydiving? This guy sucks. He saves diligently but doesn't want to miss out by socking away more than he needs to. Anyways, the point I was just trying to say is they're saying millennials got wealth, and it's because they've propped up the housing market. And so, talk of handing more free money to people so that you can make sure that they get homes sounds to me like you're just benefiting the in-group of people who can currently afford homes as you continue to increase the cost of homes. This is also from the Wall Street Journal. This is from a different article called Harris Will Seek Tax Incentives to Build Housing. The basic principle is lower the tax liability of home builders to build affordable homes, and they will build more affordable homes. That sounds to me like you're once again just going to be favoring an in-group. In other words, why we've talked about this a bunch of part of the problem. Why not just let homeowners keep more of their own money, and then I guess they could afford more expensive homes, and wouldn't that be enough of a reason for more people to want to get into construction and build people's homes? So you're trying to increase the profitability of building homes versus other industries by lowering the amount of taxes you would have to pay on your profits. I mean, maybe if you actually, I guess, made it that if you're a single group, or are we going to cap this so it's not just favorable to big corporations? It just, I like, what is going on in the economy that specifically, and does that make the homes so in other words, if versus other jobs, you'll make more money building a house because the government won't tax you as much. So they figure that more people are going to switch industries to building homes. I don't know. All right. And they will build more affordable homes, said Zandy, chief economist of Moody's Analytics. Zandy said a tax credit will be the most logical way to give builders an incentive. Harris will propose $40 billion fund to help local governments develop innovative solutions to the lack of housing. And I love that. So they're going to get $40 billion just to develop solutions, like not to solve it. They're not going to put the $40 billion into homes. I guess they're going to hand it to groups so that they could research what might help, so that they could hand it back to tax credits for the 3 builders that they choose in an area and pretend like that's going to get more homes going. It is an expansion of a similar $20 billion fund project proposed by the Biden administration. And then Elizabeth Warren has been on a similar rampage about how, hey, we need more affordable homes for the American people. And so I was like, all right, let's read what Elizabeth Warren's plan is to make sure that there's more affordable homes. This is from the Telegram. I'm not familiar with the Telegram, so maybe this is not the cleanest write-up of her plan. But as far as I could tell, these were people that were into her plan. They were trying to pitch you the plan as being a good plan, so I don't think they were lying about this. Elizabeth Warren unveils bill that would spend $500 billion to build housing. I feel like you could get a fair amount of houses going for $500 billion. All right, Boston, high rents, high sale prices, high mortgage interest rates, bidding wars, lack of inventory, the symptoms of the nationwide housing crisis that prompted Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren to file legislation in Washington that she says could help address the issue. She's not even that confident in it. Could help. The bill, dubbed the American Housing and Economic Mobility Act, aims to create nearly 3 million accessible units nationwide to lower costs for working people by 10% and save families an average of $140 a month. How bad is your plan that you're going to spend $500 billion and it filters to $140? Can people just save $140 a month? How about just renter, home buyer, whoever the hell you are? We're going to just deduce your taxes by $140 a month. It sounds to me like you're going to take a lot of money and hand it to particular companies that you're probably friends with or in some ways incentivized to work with, and so that they get to enjoy the windfalls from $500 billion being spent on housing development, which I bet will lead to some sort of inflation. And then you also have to wonder are they going to actually do a better job of building these homes? Like typically, does the government build roads or do anything at a cheaper rate than the free market? But hey, instead of just saving you $140 a month, let's have the government step in and we're going to continue to take that money from you, but we'll spend $500 billion of it on housing, which I guess is going to go to somewhat, let's say, upper, lower middle class who might actually be able to afford the homes. So we're not really helping the poorest people. All right, let's continue. Massachusetts could receive funding to add 175 units to its housing stock. The plan would allocate resources. And also, what happens to inflation if you're handing all this money to builders and now they're all bidding up, the supply of steel, wood, or otherwise, and all those other industries? Are they even going to be able to get things done unless you're doing price controls on the base goods? I mean, if we're just handing all this money to the building sector to go build houses, and then they all show up at Home Depot tomorrow, isn't that going to increase the cost on all those items that you can't actually get this done? But let's continue. Once again, this would all be better than just returning $140 a month to you from your taxes. The plan would allocate resources to state and local governments and grassroots and community organizations, and it is designed to tackle local class housing needs by funding creative local approaches and solutions. Proposal to increase the federal estate tax. Oh, so part of how they're going to fund this is like, let's say you had a parent and they were going to let you keep their house. We're going to tax that person so that you guys can't afford to keep your house, and then you'll have to sell it. But then more of the money is going to come into the system for us to then go spend for you to not have as nice of a house. All right, the proposed to increase the federal estate tax. The bill reintroduced from an earlier version would pay for an additional spending on community housing startups by increasing federal inheritance tax. Currently, the federal government tax estates valued at more than $13.61 million at a range of 18 to 40%, depending upon how much the state is over $13.61 million in value. Several states also impose estate taxes. In Massachusetts, it is imposed on estates worth more than $2 million. Guys, if you have more than $2 million, make sure you're not stashing it in Massachusetts because they will tax you upon your death. So I guess Massachusetts is doing a good job of incentivizing people at around retirement age of ensuring that they don't have homes above $2 million in the state because the state will seize 40% of it. And I'm sure it's good for the economy of Massachusetts if all the wealthy people leave to make sure that they don't have these kind of assets upon their death. Warren's bill would return the federal estate tax levels of 2009 at the end of the George W. Bush administration. All right, whatever. This part's boring. Let's read the next piece. We have to get this done, Warren said. What we're doing now is not getting at it done. Every year, we fall further and further behind. She said it's time for the federal government to come off the sidelines and make a big investment in housing to ensure the working and middle class can afford a place to live. Where the money would go. $445 billion to the Federal Housing Trust Fund to build, rehabilitate, and operate nearly 2 million homes for low-income families, including those in rural areas. The figure includes $2.5 billion to rehabilitate or construct new homes for native populations in the continental United States and Hawaii. I guess we'd have to look up how the Federal Housing Trust Fund does at building, good homes for people. $25 billion to the Capital Management Fund to leverage private capital at a 10-to-1 ratio to build more than 750,000 units for lower and middle class families. Sounds inflationary. $4 billion. All right, I've had enough of this. Other provisions in the bill. This is another Wall Street Journal article, and then I'm going to start skimming this stuff. I've had enough of this. Falling mortgage rates offer no quick fix for home buyers. Mortgage backers have pinned hopes on lower rates to bring home buyers and sellers back to the market after the U.S. home sales last year plummeted to the lowest level in decades. Millions of people have been priced out of the market where it has been less affordable than just ever to buy a home. All right, skipping ahead to the other thing I highlighted. There hasn't been nearly enough homes for sales in recent years, which has kept prices around record levels. Supply has risen some recently, but it remains well below historic averages. Other costs of home ownership, from insurance to taxes to maintenance, have risen significantly in recent years, right? That's the part I wanted to highlight. Remember when I said that dream of owning a home and having the security of, hey, at least I know I own this, and at least I know that I can afford this? Well, how does that price into, let's say, if inflation gets so bad that your homeowner insurance triples or quadruples? So let's say the government steps into the market and they hand out billions of dollars to builders to go build homes. And now, as they go and buy these homes, they're driving up the cost of all the goods. And so they can't build homes as cheaply. And if you need to get your home repaired, it's going to cost you more because all the builders have big fat government checks. And so now all of a sudden your insurance company has to increase your rate by 4, 5, 6 times. The point I'm trying to make is, how does the government step into this market, throw a lot of money into it, without somebody at some point paying the bill? And you know who pays the bill? It's you. That's what's going to end up happening. You either create some bubble that explodes, and then we all got to deal with the downturn, or it's some sort of inflationary. I'm really talking out above my pay grade here. It's just that the thing I know at its root annoys me, and then you start reading some of the particulars. But listen, don't send these clips to Gene Epstein and expect that I'm 100% right on this. I'm not going to read this article because it's enough on this topic that's over my head. The real Biden-Harris economic record kind of breaks down the economy through the years and how the spending has driven inflation. Last story of today, and then I'll take some comments, but not from you, Eric Shaver. 5 charged in connection to Matthew Perry's death. Never listen. If you're going to open up a drug business, all right, if you're out there and you're trying to figure out how to afford a home, as Kamala Harris steps into the market with price controls and hands money to specific sectors and continues to drive up the costs, and you want to figure out, how can I afford this? So you get into the drug dealing game. And then at some time along the way, you meet some celebrity and you're like, man, this guy's got some deep pockets. He really likes his drugs. Man, I've met the golden goose. I don't even need my other clients. As long as I got this one guy, I'm sitting pretty. Do you see how much drug he's doing? But with the country that we live in, you can kill off a lot of people. There's a lot of people that can die of drugs. No one gives a shit. If you start killing off the celebrities, they'll track you down. That's what happened to Omar from The Wire. Like by 2 weeks later, that drug dealer was going down. He probably could have killed 75, 100, 200, 350 people with fentanyl in New York City. Nobody would have cared. You start getting college-educated white kids killed, you're going to have a problem. If kids in college from middle-class white families are dropping dead, you're going to be in trouble. So be careful selling hard drugs to college kids. And then also be careful if you get some celebrity client and you think, oh, man, I found the golden goose. Because if you accidentally kill that guy, you're going to have hell to pay. All right, guys, that is the show. But I'm going to take some comments. I said a bunch of stuff that was over my pay grade and didn't fully think through in regards to economics talks and Kamala Harris stepping into the housing market to make sure that the asset bubble continues to go up and people like me that have been holding on to their cash, waiting for prices to come down, that, all right. Dildo just spend $100 on a bus ticket to send him the fuck back. Fair enough. Eric Shaver. Migrants. Oh, I'm going back to the comment that annoyed me earlier. Alan Thick. Robbie's microphone looks like a piece of corn wearing blackface. Thank you for that comment. Runaway Slav. Very convenient for Wikipedia to remove their page on Burisma Energy as soon as New York Post printed about the Hunter laptop. Tucker Dixon wants to pardon everyone. Valiant Thor voting for... I scrolled too far up. Here, let's go to this guy. We already read that one. Let's go to this guy. K-Key. Robbie, do you think they have Kamala on the campaign trail so no one's running the White House? I don't know. I think whatever deep shadow puppet people were always running the show are continuing to run the show. Show Sugino. Wait, you guys are giving out hand jobs? You should ask them that. Next time you're in Disney World, just walk up to Mickey Mouse and go, hey, can I whisper? He's got big ears, right? So you don't even need him to lean over that much. You go, I heard you got a fresh glove on and you'll jerk me off. Try it. It might work. You could tell him, don't tell him you heard it here, but just tell him you heard rumors that's what really goes on in Disney World. Or you can walk up to him and be like, hey, I snuck in. I heard you guys do things for people that snuck in. John Popik, I feel like the Soviets tried price controlled. I wonder how that worked out for them. Someone should let the government know that. Valiant Thor, hand jobs. I guess the only thing left is for ETs to reveal themselves, and every single piece of toilet paper on the planet will be gone. I don't know. I don't know what that meant. All right, we're reading two more. Nolan, I'm a first-time home buyer. $25K only makes about $150 difference on a monthly payment, but with the prices skyrocketing, I won't be able to afford a cardboard box behind Home Depot. Eric, all right, I'll read your comments, Eric. All right. We generally trade goods and services in a financial bubble. The indigenous... I'm not reading it. Runaway Slav. I'm a simple man. I place the blame for all of financial wows and the wars on... I think I know what you wanted to say, and that I think I know what you were looking for there. All right, that's the show. Thank you for the comments, everybody. Really insightful stuff today. All right, guys, I will be back next week, probably on Monday, with another episode. If you're living in Hartford, Connecticut, I will be hosting... we just did Dave Landau up at the Hartford Funny Bone. Everything I've seen from that guy is absolutely hilarious. So I'm very excited to sit down and actually watch him do a headlining hour. And hopefully I groove with that crowd. And if you're out DC, Maryland, Baltimore, Pennsylvania area, Myersville, Maryland, next Saturday night, we got our show out on Max's nice little slice of land over there. It's not as nice because he put two homes on the hill that I was hoping one day Porch Store would go big time and it'd be like Woodstock out there with 4,000 people. But we're working on the easement. So that we can at least keep the bar. And that's it. The show's over. Everybody, have a great weekend. Back next week. Later. Be well.